Before we even begin, before I say a single word about this case, I need to stop and talk to you. You. Yes, you watching this right now. I need to take a moment because every single time I come into this space, every single time I sit down to tell you these stories, I feel it. I feel you.
Your comments, your prayers, your messages telling me about your own searches for answers, your own losses, your own questions that keep you awake at night. You are not just viewers to me. You are not just numbers on a screen or subscribers on a channel. You are my family, my mothers, my fathers, my sisters, my brothers. The family I never had growing up. The family that found me through tragedy. The family that carries me when this work gets too heavy. And God, it gets heavy. I love you all so much. Every single one of you. If you appreciate me even a fraction of how much I appreciate you, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button, right now, don't wait. Because I read every single comment, every single one. And I respond to them because you are worth that to me. You have no idea what this community means to me. Now, in my last video, so many of you prayed for me. You prayed for the cases I cover. You prayed for the families still waiting. And I felt it. I genuinely felt it. 95% of you told me to keep going, keep digging, keep asking the hard questions when everyone else stops caring. So that's what we're doing today. And I'm going to ask you to do something with me right now, before we even get into this case. I want you to pray with me, for the victim we're about to discuss, for her family who've waited 25 years for answers, for everyone watching who's also searching for truth that seems impossible to find. Lord, we ask that you hold the families still waiting. We ask that you grant peace to those who were taken too soon. We ask that justice finds a way, even when the trail goes cold. Amen. Type Amen in the comments right now. Do not scroll past that. If you have even the slightest respect for what we're about to discuss, let it be known. And while you're down there typing, tell me where you're watching from. I want to know how far this community has reached. Type your country, your city, wherever you are. I'm going to pause right now and let you do that. Now, if you're brand new here, welcome to the family. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. This is a community built on truth, on compassion, and on making sure victims are never reduced to a headline. Alright, let's talk about Jill Dando. April 26, 1999, 25 years ago. A BBC journalist, beloved by millions, shot dead on her own doorstep in broad daylight. Wealthy London neighborhood, middle of the day, professional hit. 25 years later, no arrests. No convictions that stuck, no answers. And the theories. They range from Serbian hitmen to organized crime to a case of mistaken identity involving Russian Mafia. This case has everything. Celebrity victim. Professional execution. International conspiracy theories. Wrongful conviction. And at the center of it all, a family that's been waiting a quarter century for someone to tell them the truth. I'm going to walk you through this entire case, every detail, every theory, every question that's kept investigators awake for 25 years. But I need you to stay with me, all the way to the end. Because I promise you, by the time we're done, you're going to see something in this case that most people completely miss. Are you ready? Type yes if you're still with me. Let's go. Who was Jill Dando? Before she became a case file, before she became a mystery, before her name became synonymous with one of Britain's most baffling unsolved murders, Jill Dando was a person. A daughter, a sister, a fiancée, and I need you to understand who she was before we talk about what happened to her. Because that matters. It always matters. Jill Wendy Dando. Born November 9, 1961, Weston-super-Mare, Somerset. She grew up in a family of journalists. Her father was a journalist, her brother was a journalist. Writing, words, storytelling, it was in her blood. As a kid, she was outgoing, friendly, the kind of little girl who made friends everywhere she went. Teenager, she became head girl, joined the local theater company, performed at the Barnfield Theater. After her A-levels in 1979, she followed the family path, studied journalism at South Glamorgan Institute of Higher Education. But here's something most people don't know about Jill. When she was 4 years old, she had open heart surgery, born with a hole in her heart. Life-threatening condition. The surgery saved her life. And maybe that's why, as a young journalist, she volunteered at Sunshine Hospital Radio in Weston-super-Mare, giving back to the medical community that gave her life back. Think about that for a second. She could have died at 4, but she survived. Went on to become one of Britain's most beloved journalists. Only to be gunned down at 37 on her own doorstep. Are you still with me? Type yes if this is hitting you the way it's hitting me. After graduating, Jill started at the local paper, Western Mercury, but her talent obvious, undeniable. 1985, age 24, BBC Radio Devon hired her as a newsreader. From there, her rise was meteoric. 10 years, morning bulletins, afternoon bulletins, 6 o'clock news, travel program called Holiday, under the guidance of BBC executive Bob Wheaton, who was also her lover. Jill transformed from regional Somerset girl to sophisticated, professional national journalist. They even gave her the same haircut as Princess Diana. And like Diana, Jill became one of the nation's most beloved personalities. Her ease talking to anyone, her contagious laugh, her authenticity. People loved her because she never lost that girl next door quality. 2 years before her death, 1997, she was voted BBC Personality of the Year. 1995, she started co-hosting Crimewatch, the famous British program covering unsolved crimes. Now pay attention to this part. This matters. Crimewatch helped solve cases, high-profile cases. 1993, they broadcast CCTV footage of James Bulger's murder. John Venables and Robert Thompson identified within days, arrested, convicted. Crimewatch worked. It got results, and that made Jill Dando very, very visible. To police, she was a hero. To criminals, she was a problem. Remember that. We're coming back to it. By 1999, Jill was engaged. 3 months engaged to Alan Farthing, a surgeon. Wedding planned for 5 months later. Everything ahead of her. Marriage. Career at its peak. Beloved by millions. And then April 26, 1999, everything stopped. Let me know in the comments, did you know who Jill Dando was before this video? Type yes or no. I want to see how many of you remember this case. The last day, Wednesday morning, April 26, 1999. Jill wakes up at her fiancé Alan Farthing's house in Chiswick, West London. They've been living together part-time, wedding planning, happy. She cooks breakfast for Alan. Around 10 a.m., he leaves for work. Jill gets in her car, starts driving home to her own place at 29 Gowan Avenue, Fulham. But before heading out to a charity lunch at a Mayfair hotel, she needs to stop at home. Her agent, John Roseman, had faxed documents to her house. She needed to pick them up. 11:10 a.m., Jill's on Fulham Road, heading home. She stops at a petrol station, then shopping at Hammersmith Town Centre. Buys some paper, normal errands, normal day. 11:30 a.m., she parks right in front of her house. 29 Gowan Avenue, gets out of the car. Walks up to her front door, inserts the key in the lock. This is the last thing Jill Dando will ever do. Someone is waiting for her. One shot, point blank range, back of the head, professional execution. 11:47 a.m., Helen Doble, a TV producer and Jill's friend, who lives nearby, finds the body. Calls police immediately. Ambulance arrives 15 minutes later. Paramedics try to save her. Too late. Jill Dando is declared dead that afternoon, 37 years old. Shot dead on her own doorstep. Middle of the day. Wealthy London neighborhood. And 25 years later, nobody has been held accountable. I need you to sit with that for a second. A woman, famous, beloved, engaged to be married. Executed in broad daylight, and nobody saw it coming. Type in the comments, what's your first reaction to this? Just one word, first thing that comes to mind. I want to know what you're thinking right now. When the Metropolitan Police arrived at 29 Gowan Avenue, they knew immediately this wasn't a robbery gone wrong. Nothing stolen. Jill's purse still in the car. Jewelry untouched. This was targeted. This was intentional. And this was professional. One shot, back of the head, execution style, the bullet. 9mm caliber. Here's where it gets interesting. The cartridge case had been crimped. Now, if you don't know firearms, let me explain why that matters. Crimping a cartridge case is extremely rare. It's done to prevent the bullet from slipping back into the case. You see this in military ammunition sometimes. Professional hitmen, people who know what they're doing. This was not an amateur. During the autopsy, they found bruises on Jill's arms. She tried to defend herself, which means she saw her attacker. There was a confrontation, however brief. The scene had been heavily contaminated by the time forensics got there. Paramedics tried to resuscitate her. Neighbors had gathered. But they did find the bullet on the doorstep. And they started canvassing for witnesses. Here's what they found. The postman saw a Mediterranean-looking man around 10 a.m. opposite side of the road from Jill's house. Jill's next-door neighbor, Richard Hughes, heard a scream, heard a gate clang, went to his window, saw a 6-foot-tall white man, around 40, walking away from the house. Other neighbors described a man in a long, dark coat. Another witness, sweating, agitated man at a bus stop nearby around the time of the murder. Are these all the same person? Different people, nobody knows. And here's the other thing. A traffic warden on a nearby street was about to issue a ticket to a blue Range Rover. As she started riding it, the driver brushed her off, drove away, minutes after the murder. Later, police got reports of a blue Range Rover speeding across Putney Bridge, heading away from the murder scene. They searched CCTV extensively, never found the vehicle, never identified the driver. But they did confirm one thing: Jill had not been followed in the hour and a half before her death. Whoever killed her was waiting for her. Let me know in the comments, do you think this was one person or multiple people involved? Type 1 or multiple. I'm genuinely curious what you think. The police were under massive pressure. This wasn't just any murder. This was Jill Dando, BBC icon, beloved by millions. April 30th, 1999, 4 days after the murder. Police released an EFIT based on witness descriptions. And then the tips started flooding in, thousands of them. Problem, most were false leads, people seeking fame. People trying to claim the £250,000 reward. The investigation became the Metropolitan Police's biggest murder case since the Yorkshire Ripper. More than 2,500 people interviewed. Over 1,000 statements taken, 1,200 cars traced. And they had almost nothing. Are you still with me? Type yes if you're following every word, because this is where the theories start, and trust me, they get wild. Theory 1, the Serbian connection. April 1999. Context matters here. NATO was bombing Yugoslavia. The Yugoslav wars were at their peak. April 23, 1999, 3 days before Jill's murder. NATO bombs the headquarters of Radio Television Serbia in Belgrade. 16 people killed, mostly journalists. The theory: Jill Dando was killed in retaliation. The BBC feared this immediately. They received anonymous calls claiming Jill was killed by Serbian forces. They received threatening letters at the BBC newsroom where she worked. The police investigated, worked with special services. Could this have been the Serbian government using an underground network to make a political statement? Could it have been an individual seeking revenge? The police ultimately concluded, unlikely. But here's why this theory won't go away. That crimped cartridge, remember I told you about that? According to some informants, that pointed to Serbian military ammunition. And recently, an expert linked to Serbian hitman Milorad Ulimek to the murder scene. Ulimek worked for Slobodan Milosevic. He eliminated political opponents. He's now serving life in prison in Serbia. A facial recognition expert, Emi Polito, claims Ulimek appears in CCTV footage near the crime scene. He also resembles the EFIT, but here's the problem. No one claimed responsibility. If this was Serbian retaliation, why not announce it? Why not use Jill's death as propaganda? Ulimek never confessed. There's no proof he was in the UK, let alone London, let alone near Jill's house that day. Tell me in the comments, do you think Serbia was involved? Type yes or no. I want to see what the family thinks about this theory. Theory 2, the mistaken identity. This theory is recent, and it's wild. June 2022, Paris court documents surface. They suggest Jill Dando may have been killed by mistake. The real target, another BBC journalist named Lisa Brinkworth. Stay with me here, this gets complicated. 1998, Lisa Brinkworth was an undercover journalist for BBC's Donald McIntyre Investigates. She posed as a model to expose abuse in the fashion industry. While undercover, she alleged she was sexually assaulted by Gerald Marie. Who's Gerald Marie? One of the world's biggest model agents, elite models. Lisa's investigation threatened to expose him. According to the theory, Marie hired a Russian hitman to kill her, but the hitman got the wrong woman. Both journalists were in their 30s, both blonde. Similar height, similar facial features. They lived close to each other in London. The Paris legal papers from Bourdon and Associates stated, shortly thereafter, a BBC journalist, Jill Dando, was shot dead in April 1999. This theory would explain the professional hit. The lack of anyone claiming responsibility. 2020 Gerald Marie was accused of sexual assault by 11 women. Prosecuted in France. But here's the problem with this theory. There's no proof Marie tried to kill Lisa Brinkworth. He had enough power and money to silence her without resorting to murder. There's no proof he hired a Russian hitman. And even if he did, would a professional hitman really mistake two women? It's intriguing, but it's based entirely on assumptions. What do you think? Could this be true? Type in the comments. And tell me, have you heard this theory before? Theory 3, Crimewatch Revenge. This is where I think we get closer to the truth. Remember I told you about Crimewatch, the show Jill hosted starting in 1995. The show that helped solve major crimes. The show that got criminals arrested, James Bulger's killers. Caught because of Crimewatch, dozens of other cases. Solved because Jill Dando put them on national television. Jill didn't just host the show. She was vocal about it, she believed in it. And that made her a target. During the investigation, police looked at 30 people who had resented Crimewatch and its hosts. People who went to prison because of that show. People who feared they'd be next. Mark Williams Thomas, former detective turned investigative journalist, suggested in 2015, Jill was killed on orders of a London underworld figure known as Mr. Big. Williams Thomas claimed he found intelligence reports in the 52,000 documents from Barry George's defense. Reports naming to London men involved in major organized crime. The theory, Jill's murder was a message. To other journalists, to the police, to anyone who thought they could take on organized crime. Do not expose us, do not come after us, or this is what happens. In the 2023 Netflix documentary Who Killed Jill Dando, an ex-criminal named Noel Razor Smith claims he knows who did it, but he can't say. Because if he does, he'll be killed. Let that sink in. A man claims to know who murdered Jill Dando, but he's too afraid to say it out loud. Because the people responsible are still out there. Still dangerous, still capable of killing anyone who talks. This theory makes sense. Professional hit. Organized crime connection. No one claiming responsibility because that would defeat the purpose. The message was the murder itself. If this is true, we may never know the full story. Because everyone who knows is too afraid to speak. Type in the comments. Do you think organized crime killed Jill Dando? Type yes or no. I want to see where this community stands. For months after Jill's murder, the police had nothing. No solid leads, no arrests, pressure mounting. Then, February 2000, nearly a year later, police start getting phone calls about a man named Barry Balsara. Lives a few streets away from Gowan Avenue, on Crookham Road. In the days after Jill's murder, multiple people recalled Barry asking strange questions. Do you remember how I was dressed that day? What time did you see me? Like he was trying to build an alibi. Police did background research. Barry's last name wasn't actually Balsara. It was George, Barry George, and his record, disturbing. 1980s. Arrested and convicted for attempted rape, sexual assaults. Known for impersonating famous people and police officers to attract women. Pretended to be in the IRA. January 10, 1983. Found in the grounds of Kensington Palace. Princess Diana was living there at the time. Barry was hiding in the grounds, wearing a balaclava, carrying a poem he'd written to Prince Charles. More recently, he'd gone through a divorce. Had traumatized a Japanese student he'd married for convenience. He'd taken the name Balsara to pretend he was Freddie Mercury's cousin. Police put him under surveillance, and Barry fit the profile, unemployed, completely marginalized. Spent his days wandering, following women, the loner they were looking for. May 2000, police got a search warrant for Barry's flat. And they found disturbing things, collection of newspapers about female celebrities. Some about Jill Dando, handwritten list of firearm replicas. Part of a gun holster, boxes of undeveloped film. When developed, they showed Barry photographing women in the street. Photos of Barry with firearms, a coat similar to the one described by witnesses. Hamish Campbell, the officer in charge, declared Barry George the main suspect. May 25, 2000, Barry arrested, interrogated for 3 days. He denied everything. But forensic evidence seemed to incriminate him. Gunshot residue, found in the pocket of his coat, placing him at the crime scene. May 28, 2000, Barry George charged with the murder of Jill Dando. The trial began May 25, 2001. Barry's lawyer, Michael Mansfield, argued the case was too thin. Experts testified Barry had cognitive impairments, wasn't capable of being as organized as the killer must have been. Mansfield emphasized the only evidence was gunshot residue, which wasn't reliable. No solid forensic evidence linking Barry to the scene, no motive. Despite this, July 2, 2001, the jury found Barry George guilty, sentenced to life in prison. But Barry's sister, Michelle Diskin, refused to accept it. She contacted Raphael Rowe, investigative journalist specializing in wrongful convictions. Rowe himself had been wrongly convicted of murder at age 20, spent 12 years in prison before being acquitted. Rowe investigated Barry's case, and he proved the gunshot residue evidence was unreliable. How could gunshot residue found 1 year after the murder, in a coat discovered in a messy flat, not proven to be linked to the crime scene, be seen as strong evidence? 2007, Barry's appeal accepted, retrial ordered. August 1, 2008, Barry George found not guilty. Released from prison, 8 years. He spent 8 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit. To this day, Hamish Campbell maintains Barry George is guilty, that he got away with murder. But the evidence didn't hold up. Let me ask you something. Type in the comments. Do you think Barry George killed Jill Dando? Or was he wrongly convicted? Type guilty or innocent. I want to know what you think. What most likely happened? 25 years. That's how long Jill Dando's family has been waiting for answers. Her brother, Nigel Dando, recently said he believes Jill died in crossfire. That the person who killed her might not have even known who she was, but I don't think that's true. This was too professional, too planned, too precise. One shot, execution style, crimped cartridge. This wasn't random, so what most likely happened? I think Jill Dando was killed because of Crimewatch. She was hosting a show that exposed criminals. That got them arrested, that sent them to prison. And someone, maybe an individual seeking revenge, maybe organized crime sending a message, decided she had to go. Professional hit, organized crime connection. No one claims responsibility because the murder itself is the message. Come after us, and this is what happens. And if that's true, we may never know the full truth, because everyone who knows is too afraid to speak. The people responsible are still out there, still dangerous, and Jill Dando's family is still waiting. Type in the comments, do you agree? Do you think Crimewatch got her killed? Tell me what you think. I want to hear from every single one of you. I need to take a moment. Because every time I cover cases like this, cases where families are still waiting, still hoping, still praying for answers that may never come, it breaks something inside me. Jill Dando was 37 years old. Engaged to be married, beloved by millions. At the peak of her career, and someone walked up to her front door and shot her in the head. 25 years ago. And nobody has been held accountable. Not the Serbian government, not organized crime, not a hitman, nobody. Her family wakes up every day knowing her killer is still out there. Still free, still unpunished. I pray for Jill Dando, for the life that was stolen from her. I pray for Nigel Dando, her brother, who spent 25 years searching for answers. I pray for Alan Farthing, her fiancé, who was planning a wedding and got a funeral instead. And I pray for you. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever brought you to this video. If you're searching for answers in your own life, if you've lost someone and the case went cold, if you're carrying questions that keep you awake at night, I pray you find peace. I pray the answers come, but more than that, I pray peace finds you before the answers do. Type Amen in the comments right now, for Jill, for her family, for everyone still waiting for justice, and type her name, just her name. Jill Dando. Let the algorithm see it, let the world see it, let them know she's not forgotten. You have no idea what you mean to me. Every comment, every prayer, every person who watches to the end and takes the time to engage, to share, to care about these stories. You are my family. I love you all so much. God bless every single one of you. If this investigation mattered to you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who asks hard questions. Someone who believes victims deserve more than headlines, because Jill Dando deserved better. And the least we can do is make sure she's never forgotten. Tell me in the comments, did you know about Jill Dando before this video? Where are you watching from? What theory do you believe? I want to hear from every single one of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this family. For those of you still searching for answers, keep going, your answers are coming. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you all.